West Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Kathy Abramowitz, and I will be facilitating the service today. Let's start with the hymn 360. Please stand if you are able and sing with all your heart. Here we have gathered. Beautiful. Our chalice lighter today is Marika.
Good morning. As I light the chalice, I'm going to be reading 3 short quotes with a little bit of a travel theme for our program this morning. The first one is by Robert Frost. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Then the second is by Martin Buber. All journeys have secret destinations of which the traveler is unaware. And then last, by Lin Yutang. No one realizes how beautiful it is to travel until he comes home and rests his head on his old familiar pillow.
Thank you, Marika. We welcome you to this church regardless of your ethnicity, sexual orientation, or economic status, and we are glad you have brought with you all those different things that make you who you are. I would like to invite any visitors who are here for the first time to stand and introduce yourself to us. Do we have any visitors? No visitors today. Well, we'll greet each other afterwards at the coffee hour. Announcements. I've got 2 of them here, and if anyone else has a brief announcement. First of all, for the Adventurers Club. And when is the Adventurers Club going to meet?
Next Saturday we have.
Next Saturday. And in the back, you'll see there's an activity book for the Saddle Mountain, which is where the hike is going to be, all right? So make sure you take a look at that, especially if you have a kid at home, a grandchild, whatever. Also, something that I've announced before, on the 17th, we're planning to go sing, a bunch of us, at an assisted living home, and they're very excited about us coming. If anyone enjoys singing Christmas carols and would like to come, please talk with me afterwards. And Anne, I believe, has an announcement.
Thanks for the time, Kathy. There is an announcement in your order of service about clipboard sales. I'd like to add that we do have some totals. We realized $117, I think, on our trunk sale, which was considerably less than we'd hoped for, but it's not the end of the world. As someone said, it's $117 that we didn't have before, so we can add that to the general fund. I'm still collecting, however, for events for the clipboard sale. We still have openings at the game night that Kathy is sponsoring. There are a couple of dinners, and there are still openings on Darnell Kirksey's guided tour of the Hacienda Preserve, which you might be interested in. That would be a nice thing to give as a gift. You might want to consider that. And that is the 10th of September, of December. So you might want to, if you're considering that, sign up today. I'm collecting funds. We'd like to wrap up our collection as soon as possible. Thank you.
Joys and concerns. We are now at that time in our service when we share joys and concerns that we have experienced. As a joy shared is multiplied and a sorrow shared is divided. Please come forward if you would like to share your personal joys and concerns with us. I leave it up.
I'm Gudrun Heil, and I got a great joy. I went to Germany for 3 weeks and saw my friends and my streets and my cathedrals, and I took along for 2 out of the 3 weeks my granddaughter and her girlfriend, who begged to go to Germany, and then hated it, and I suffered. I really suffered. I wanted to make it nice for them. I wanted to make up for whatever. I tried to offer them food that they couldn't find anywhere. So no, we don't want nothing cooked from you. And you know, when you're in Europe, you walk, in any other country as well. But they were not trained in that type of distance walking. And it was sad. It was really sad. But after they left, I had 1 week to myself, and my daughter came for that 1 week, and we had a great time together. That was made up for the pain I had suffered for 2 weeks. And when I came home, first thing I did is move into my own new apartment at Sunny Slope Manor on the Central and 4th, somewhere near the canal. And for the last 3 days, I got up 5 o'clock because I'm on jet lag, you know. I walk by the canal. They got a canal walk, and so I'm located in a very nice area. And they had the Thanksgiving party and the birthday party. It was just good for me to get acquainted with the 118 elderly disabled people I live with. There's a whole new venture. Sometimes I wonder what a aging body can all endure. I'm doing fine under everything. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Mary Lynn Schroyer, and I have a joy that I just realized this morning, even though it happened 6 weeks ago, and some of you know about it, I decided it needs a stone in the water. And that's that I got to attend my 50th high school reunion back in Dayton, Ohio, and got to visit with family and wonderful friends. It was a little sad because 2 of our friends that we ran around with had died within the last 2 years. But the rest of us took great joy in still being alive and having a wonderful time together. And when it was all said and done, I had to kind of agree with my brother after his 50th. What the heck were all those old folks doing there?
I have a concern and a joy. I'm going to speak my concern first. It's for my sister-in-law who has terminal bone cancer, and she does send me email messages asking me to pass on the message for God to please find a cure for cancer. I can't do that, but I do ask you to keep my sister-in-law, Marilyn Clark, in your thoughts, in your heart, and your prayers if you pray. My joy is my grandsons are home for the weekend. They're on their way back to college now. But we had a marvelous Thanksgiving dinner. No one could get a word in edgewise, but it was much more fun listening to what they had to say than anything we could have had to say.
You forgot to put your stone in. I'll put a stone for you. And this stone is for all those joys and concerns that we hold in our hearts, but have not expressed. The unison reading of the covenant is in your order of service. Let us read it together. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is our holy right, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in friendship. Thus do we covenant. We come to this place because we love what exists here. This church is a living entity, and like all living things, it must be nurtured and sustained. Its breath and its heartbeat, its life itself, can only be derived from its living components, us. An offering will now be made by the willing and received in love. And there are no visitors, but if there were, you could think of yourself as a guest this time. Oh, well, it's time for the kids to come on up. What kids do we have this time? Do we have a few children?
They're gonna listen to the story too?
listen to the story. Do you go to school? What school? What grade school are you in? What grade are you in? You're in first grade? You're going to go to school next year, aren't you? Yeah, you're going to be in kindergarten, huh? What if your school was made of mud? Can you imagine? Well, what if it was just dried mud? What if it was adobe? What if you had to make your school before you could go to it? You wouldn't want to do that, huh? Okay. This is the story, and it's actually a true story, because the man and his wife who wrote this also taught in a school just exactly like this. This is called the Rain School. In the country of Chad, it is the first day of school. The dirt road is filling up with children. Big brothers and big sisters are leading the way. It's okay. Will they give us a notebook? Thomas asked. Will they give us a pencil? Will I learn to read like you? Stop asking so many questions and keep up, said the big brothers and the big sisters. How would you like to sit in the middle? You can come sit next to me. Sit next to me. Sit. Tree places. There we go. Perfect. Oh, I like this one. No. Stay here, Lavender. Good. Thomas arrives at the schoolyard, but there's no classrooms. How can they learn? They don't have even school. There's no desks. It doesn't matter. There's a teacher. We will build the school, she says. This is our first lesson. Thomas learns to make mud bricks and dry them in the sun. See the bricks that he's making over here? He learns to build mud walls and mud desks. Let me hold this up so the grown-ups can see. Building the school. See it right there. He gathers grass and saplings with the other children, and they make a roof. See how they're making it? They built the roof like that, and then they're putting the straw and the leaves and things over the top. Inside, it is cool. It smells of the earth. It smells of the fields ready for planting. Thomas helps bring a little wooden stools in. Everyone sits down. This is the moment that they have been waiting for. The teacher brings in a blackboard. On it she writes a letter. A, says the teacher. A, says Thomas with the other children. The teacher writes the letter in big strokes in the air. The students all do the same, over and over. Wonderful, says the teacher. A. She hands them notebooks and pencils. Page 1, says the teacher. Thomas opens the notebook to the first page and holds his pencil, ready and waiting. Now write the letter A. Beautiful, says the teacher, as she looks at each of the students' work. Every day, Thomas learns something new. Every day, the teachers cheer him and the other children on. Excellent job, she says. Perfect, my learning friends. And see, that's where they live in Africa, right in the middle of Africa. The nine months of the school year fly by. The last day has come. The students' minds are fat with knowledge. Their notebooks are rumpled from learning. Thomas and the other children call out, "Thank you, teacher." She smiles and says, "Well done, my hard-working friends. See you next year." Thomas and the other children race home. The school is empty, just in time. The big rains have started. The drops come down hard and fast. Strong winds tear at the grass roof. The rain finds its way inside. The school's mud walls are soaked, and they start to slump. The desks, too. Everything is just turning into mud. Slowly, the school disappears until there's nothing left. It doesn't matter. The letters have been learned, and the knowledge has been taken away by the children. Come September, school will start over. Thomas will be a big brother then, leading the other children on to the first day of school. They will all stand in front of their smiling teachers, ready to build the school again. Imagine that. It's time to sing you out. Our responsive reading for this week is 557. All living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny.
All people, those who love and those who know God, are united and share the same destiny.
Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, earth,
Our brothers and sisters, strangers,
flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes, and moonbeams.
birth, life, death, unknown, known, unknown.
Our destiny from unknown to unknown.
We have the faith to accept this mystery and build upon its everlasting truth.
Our UU Minute. I found out this week that our UU Minutes are coming to a close at the end of this year. But we have a set of 48 of them that Lucy has written for us that we will go back to, I'm sure, over the years. But our UU Minute this time is on Clara Barton. Clara Barton was born in 1821 and she died in 1912, so she had a good long life. Clarissa Harlow Barton was a nurse, educator, peace activist, author, women's rights advocate, suffragist, and philanthropist. She was called Angel of the Battlefield, and she was the founder of the American Red Cross, and she was also a Universalist. Okay, I want to raise a hand. How many of you clearly understand the difference between Unitarians and Universalists? Raise your hands. That's about half of you, all right? Originally, this is in one sentence. Originally, the Unitarians believed that there was a unity of God, one God and not many. The Universalists believed in universal salvation, that all were saved by God. So she was a Universalist. She was born in North Oxford, Massachusetts, the youngest of 5 children. Her older brothers and sisters taught her reading, writing, spelling, arithmetic, and geography. So when she started school at age 4, she found it to be very easy. Her only handicap was her extreme shyness. She became a teacher at age 17 and taught in several schools. She later opened a free school in New Jersey, and the attendance rose to 600 kids. But when the school board gave the position to head the school to a man instead of her, she left and went to Washington, D.C., where she worked as a clerk in the U.S. Patent Office. At the outbreak of the Civil War, she resigned that position and went to work as a volunteer delivering bandages, socks, and other supplies to the front to help wounded soldiers. In 1864, she was made superintendent of the Union nurses. After the war, President Lincoln gave her permission to start a letter-writing campaign to search for missing soldiers. She also lectured and worked for the suffragist movement until she worked herself into a physical breakdown. She traveled to Europe to rest and regain her health. While there, she learned about the Treaty of Geneva, which provided relief for sick and wounded soldiers. 12 nations had signed the treaty, but the U.S. had refused. She vowed to look into the matter. She also observed the Red Cross in action when she traveled with volunteers to the front of the Franco-Persian War. When she returned to the United States, she began her crusade for the Treaty of Geneva and the Red Cross. She moved to Washington, D.C. to lobby for her cause. Due to her efforts, the United States signed the Treaty of Geneva in 1882. The American Red Cross was formed in 1881, and Clara Barton served as its first president, and she remained its president until 1904. During her tenure, she headed up relief work for disasters such as famines, floods, pestilence, and earthquakes here and around the world. The last operation she personally directed was relief for the victims of the Galveston flood in 1900. She died of complications of a cold. Go figure. The mission of her life can be summed up in her own words. You must never so much as think whether you like it or not, whether it is bearable or not. You must never think of anything except the need and how to meet it. Amazing. And now it's time for our speaker, Jim Reay, who we all know and love and have heard before. And for those of you who don't know, Jim and Mark did a lot of traveling before Jim retired. But then Jim retired, and travel became an amazing experience that he has been following over the last year and a half. There is a new show on television, Travel with a Purpose, and I think Jim could have written Travel with a Purpose. We welcome Jim.
That was sweet. You took some of the words from my sermon today, Traveling with Purpose. On my last night in Nepal, I visited several vendors near my hotel who had become my friends. Most had on previous days invited me into their shops just to visit, and we shared chia together. Very hot tea with milk and sugar served in a glass. Careful, grab the rim or you will scald your fingers. I had some leftover Nepali rupees to spend and savored the experience of choosing various kids on the street to provide a treat. I took their hands and led them to a bakery for their choice of sweets. There are many beggars on Kathmandu streets, but these kids were not begging, and the delight in their surprised eyes will stay with me forever. Because of this church, I am a missionary. Not the Baptist missionary that I was at 19 years old, going door to door to save souls, but hopefully saving lives in faraway places. There's another missionary in this room, maybe several, but a very special friend of Mark's and mine, Janice Brunson, has introduced us to international UU travel, which was a category I was never aware of. Janice Brunson is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Church, the Congregation of Phoenix in Paradise Valley. Janice spoke here about 3 years ago about her work helping Unitarian Universalists in Africa. And a year later, Mark and I joined her on a trip to Africa, to Kenya, to visit UUs. And Janice has befriended and started many small businesses to make Unitarian Universalists self-sufficient in several African countries. Thank you for being here, Janice. You have changed my life. My life was also changed because of a member in this congregation, Nancy Steer. Nancy Steer is here this morning. A year and a half ago, I was head of the worship committee, and Nancy said, you know, I know a guy, a Unitarian back in Michigan. He might be good to speak at our church. And that was James Earl Canfield, who spoke in our church just over a year ago. And because of Earl Canfield, I spent a month in Nepal. Vacationing, yes. Flying to see the big mountain, yes. But feeling a bit of a missionary because I left America to visit a student I had been supporting, and I came home supporting two boys. Now, the organization that Earl Canfield founded is ANSWER, American Nepali Student and Women's Educational Relief. The primary purpose of his organization is to sponsor children, started with girls, but boys need help too, of the lower caste in Nepal to be able to afford, well, they can't afford, but to find a sponsor to have these students be able to attend a private school. The public schools in Nepal are poor at best. The private schools that I visited, over 25, shocked me in their lack of facilities, but they're still much better than the public schools. So Earl's organization now has mostly Unitarian Universalist one-on-one sponsors of students. We receive 2 letters a year from these students. We get their report card. And my experience on this missionary trip to Nepal was unique in that I spent day after day traveling with Earl's small team in Nepal, visiting these various schools where the students are sponsored, and watching them write letters to the sponsors, looking at their report cards, talking to the principals, and seeing checks written for tuition for these students that otherwise would have no chance of anything other than perhaps an agricultural avocation. So it was a wonderful experience. And yes, I now love to travel with purpose. There are Unitarians in so many places of the world. Janice has visited Unitarians in Transylvania, India, African countries. This is news to me. I have another trip planned. In March, I plan to spend the month with Barbara Kovach's daughter, Karen Kovach. Many of you know her. We will be teaching for a couple of weeks in a Unitarian Universalist orphanage school, helping children with their English in Uganda, of all places. So, Nepal is not Timbuktu, but Nepal is Kathmandu, and it's a fascinating city. This is Nepal. Traditional hat of many. This is Nepal. I can't get the right crease yet, but with proper practice, I will. This is Nepal, the traveler. I had no idea that Nepal is tropical. I thought, stupid, ignorant American, that it was all Mount Everest. It is very tropical in the lowlands and around Kathmandu. So, and I did get a sunburn while I was there. And my favorite, this is Nepal. No, I'm not a Roman centurion, nor an alien, but this is an authentic Buddhist monk hat. Now, I had great difficulty in choosing this because at the shop that we found this in a suburb of Kathmandu, it came in many colors. I chose one.
Good choice.
So, boy, Kathmandu, what a dreamy destination. It is a third world country. It is a beautiful country. I loved my month there. and I hope maybe to return. So I'd like to share a few slides with you, and if you have further interest, if you would like to support a student of Answer, look up Answer on the internet, Google it, or speak to me. And if you'd like to see more than the slides I'm able to show in this short time this morning, give me a call. I'd love to share them. I think most of you will be able to see the screen easily, but if not, feel free to stand up or move over.
Maybe we should turn off some lights.
Thank you for all the helpers. Earl Canfield on the right, the founder of Answer, who I traveled with in September, is speaking to a principal. Because once again, most of our time was spent traveling to schools, checking up on students, finding new students, and paying for the students that were already supported by the Answer organization. The children wrote letters to the sponsors. They read letters from the sponsors. It's amazing the variety of letters that are written from America and how precious and important each letter is to these students. I was amazed with the capability of their English writing. This is the light in the roof of one of the schools that I visited. Earl is a very compassionate man who visits personally with each student at every school he visits. He can also be firm. If their grades are not high, he cautions them that Answer cannot support them unless they do perform, study hard, and get good grades. Now, I love a bit of flamboyance and a lot of flags, but my yard has never looked like the temples of Kathmandu. The prayer flags with written prayers waving in the wind, bring the prayers to heaven. And although prayer flags are Buddhist, they are accepted by all faiths in Nepal and throughout Asia. They're a good feeling. You've seen people with prayer wheels. I saw lots of those and soiled my hands rolling them around. Monkeys are everywhere in Nepal. Again, it's tropical in the lowlands. There I was blessed with a special mark from a traveling priest. Unfortunately, you can't get close to the monkeys because a bite might mean a quick trip home. Here's a lawn crew. See the ladies working. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Pretty fancy for their uniforms for trimming. I apologize. I've got the slideshow saved in a couple of formats, and I've had some trouble with it jumping between formats. Oh, the flags. Beautiful. traditional dress. It's very Indian because southern Nepal, bordering northern India, has very much Indian influence in language, in dress, in food, and souvenirs of every sort of
Jim, did most people speak English too?
most people speak some English. Children speak quite good English because all the schools teach English.
What's their native language?
There are several native languages, and there are several modes of transportation, from Mercedes to, this is a breakfast we had. Potatoes and curry, and that's rice pudding. Actually tasted pretty good. A little scary to see the kitchen. Here is a classroom, a private school, a blackboard. No screens on the windows, but what a view from the classroom. This reminded me very much of my time in Vietnam as a soldier with the rice fields. And these are private schools. The tuition provided by Answer sponsors, $300 a year, pays for the uniform, books, and tuition for 1 year to change a student's life. And yes, all these students speak English. I was amazed to find bananas in Nepal. There were several other Unitarians that traveled with us to the schools to meet their own students and to experience the wonders of this wonderful country. This is Lake Fewa, F-E-W-A, north of Kathmandu, a very popular site. This was a special treat to see the White Cat Mountains because the clouds do roll throughout the day. I can't believe I took these pictures. And yet, on the edge of the water, washing clothes. Yes, cows and animals are sacred and they wander the streets. A bit of America in Nepal. Lots of small vendors. And this, amongst many places in Nepal, is a jumping off place for every kind of trek imaginable. The food was good, lots of vegetables.
Were there things you didn't recognize, or were they all recognized?
There were many things I didn't recognize, but never got sick from eating them. And isn't this a fun fruit stand? He was making fruit juice too. You think you have wiring problems at home? This is very typical of Nepal. And this poor serviceman, I don't know how he survived the climb or how he did the repair.
Do the students live in their own homes, Jim? Or do
Some of the schools, the students live at the school, but most of them come by foot or by bus. This vendor pestered me so long that I finally did buy some things from her. And she was a very sweet lady on Lake Fewa, north of Kathmandu. Oh, this was luxury. I also had a body massage, but I think he cracked one of my ribs, so you be careful when. Here we're having a party on the edge of the lake. The group of us that traveled, that couple is from the church in Paradise Valley. Earl had had a long day. We did travel to about 3 or 4 different schools each day, And it was pretty trying. Here, one of the schools, the orphanage schools, where the children actually lived there. This is one of the graduate students that came back to visit. And if it weren't for Unitarians supporting these students, there's a gas station, they wouldn't have an education beyond just the very basics. A window from the school out on the rice paddy. It's amazing how
What's the future for them after school, Jim?
after 10th grade they can also go on to school with the help of that was Lucy Drizzle. Timed out. The future is good if they perform well, because Answer will also sponsor them through college. And the program has been active long enough that many of the students are now working successfully following their college educations. Some in medicine, some in education. Here's a school pump. That's where the kids wash up. This was outside a hotel I stayed at. The vegetables being delivered, and another school. This is one of the students I sponsor, Deepish Paudel. Namaste, I greet the God within you. Each school has its own unique uniform. Some schools even have buses, but most walk great distances to school. This is in Kathmandu. Garbage pickup, local butcher. Back in a school, teacher's toilet was special, as you can see, and no handholds to get back up. Another schoolroom. Oh, what a can of paint might do. I didn't quite fit on the merry-go-round, but it looked like fun. If you'd like a purse after the service, I have some. And that would be my gift to you. It's a beautiful country. Not that large. Much smaller than Arizona, but in a strategic location, near Tibet, bordering India. These are potatoes being grown. This is one of the Answer staff helping a student to write a letter to his sponsor. Cotton balls and candy for my flight to the big white mountain. How close have you been to Mount Everest? Well, one morning I boarded a flight and I got pretty darn close. No, I didn't climb, but the airplane did. And there is Mount Everest above the clouds.
It's almost 30,000 feet, isn't it?
It's almost 30,000 feet. This is another famous Buddhist temple in the outskirts of Kathmandu. Buddha's eyes.
Are those people up there, Jim?
No, those are birds on the top of the, lots of birds. And lots of prayer flags. Here's a woman working. They're building a road. And she's taking those bricks, putting them in the basket. Ah, there's my prize. When I saw that, it was one of the few purchases I've made. I knew I needed one. One of the few purchases I made without checking the price. This, like Varanasi in India, is a river where funeral pyres are burning. It was a very sensitive and wonderful experience. Here's the kindling to start the fires for bodies. There are many trips to be taken in Nepal, many historical sites, many books written about many of the sites. That is the couple from the Paradise Valley Church, Dave and Bonnie Cunningham. Another very ancient temple. Hi, Lucy.
Is that your screensaver?
Your
Your wallpaper?
Yes,
Reay and John?
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is a simple kiln. They're ready to fire the pottery with straw. And this man is putting glaze on the pottery. These women are at a local well. See the pop bottles behind that woman? They're actually filling water bottles in this historic city that is now a tourist site. One morning I woke up to the sound of snake charmers on the street. Again, very Indian influence, but it is only 50, 100 miles to the Indian border. Pretty amazing experiences. Pretty third world, but pretty amazing. This is the Answer headquarters. They do have an office. They have a staff of 3 or 4 people. And I'm sorry our time has come to a close. Here's a first aid box in a school I visited. What do you think is inside? Not as much as my cabinet at home. A computer lab. I didn't find out if those computers were working. Rice almost ready to pick. A large school that we visited.
Jim, is the government helpful to answer?
The government is helpful in, there's a ping pong table. This is the second student I adopted. He's in 2nd grade, first in his class. Keepish. So, thank you for sharing some of my experiences. And as I said, if you are interested in helping an Answer student for $300 a year, look it up on the website or talk to me. Thank you for sharing.
We have one more thing. I thought that we all need to learn to sing harmony. So I picked a song that all of us know for sure, and one that you don't have to have a low or high voice for. It's Kumbaya. And we're going to do it like this. Can you help with the harmonies or folks? This side is going to sing the melody. Just sing the first couple of parts. Okay, you guys all know that one, right? All right. This side is going to sing the harmony, and we're going to go through the harmony first. Let's do it one time, one verse.
Oh, we want
We
it.
want the book, it shows on the book.
Okay, that's okay. We'll just take it.
Okay, all right. All the words here. All right, so I'm gonna have you guys, we're gonna stand if you're able. On 401. You guys are all doing harmony, and you guys are doing melody. Face each other a little bit. And now we take our leave. Before we gather here again, may each of us